Hey guys, tonight we embark on a rather peculiar journey, a gentle meander back to ancient Rome. We're going to explore a side of their famous bathhouses that often gets overlooked by the bustling, daytime crowds. How these monumental complexes, usually synonymous with noise and vigour, quietly transformed into sanctuaries where one could truly unwind, perhaps even drift off to a gentle, watery slumber. Picture this. You've spent your entire day negotiating for olives in the Forum, maybe narrowly avoided a runaway chariot, or perhaps you've been reciting particularly long passages of Virgil. Your toga feels a bit heavy, and your feet are aching from traversing those ancient cobblestones. So, you trudge towards the immense, looming presence of the public baths as dusk begins to settle over the 7 hills. Just thinking about stepping inside might seem like an odd prelude to relaxation. After all, if a modern gym can feel overwhelming at rush hour, imagine an ancient Roman super spa. You're probably thinking, there's no way I'm surviving an ancient Roman public bathhouse without catching at least 3 mysterious ailments. And honestly, you're not entirely wrong about the day. But we're not focusing on the day. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Tell me where you're winding down from too. What time is it in your part of the world? Drop a comment below and let me know. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. As the sun dips below the Tiber, painting the sky in soft oranges and purples, the oppressive midday heat begins to recede, carrying with it much of the day's relentless clamour. A different rhythm begins to pulse through Rome's streets, a quieter hum, a whisper of respite after the city's usual frenetic dance. You're not here for a quick wash or a gossip session. You're seeking something deeper tonight, a true balm for the soul, a soft unwinding. You pick up the pace a little as you near the familiar colossal arches and grand marble facades of the local public bathhouse, perhaps the Baths of Caracalla, towering against the fading light, or a more modest, local establishment tucked away behind a street of lively taverners. From a distance, you can already smell it. Not the chaotic blend of sweat and street food you might expect from a full day, but something cleaner, infused with the faint scent of olive oil, cypress wood smoke, and the peculiar mineral tang of heated water. It's a scent that subtly signals a shift in focus, an invitation to transition from the clamour of external obligation to the soft, enveloping world within. Your mind begins to wander, not about tomorrow's market prices, but about the intricate network of underground hypercausts, those ancient furnace systems beneath the very floor you're about to walk on. Imagine the sophisticated Roman engineering that allowed them to heat entire pools and rooms using a network of fires, flues, and ceramic tiles. Truly a marvel for their time. It's hard to imagine, sitting here in your quiet, climate-controlled space, just how much warmth a carefully stoked fire could project into these cavernous chambers. Yet, despite their ingenuity, the baths weren't always entirely flawless. Occasionally, a less than diligent attendant might overfeed the fire, making certain sections slightly hotter than anticipated. You just learn to subtly shift away from that one particular column. But tonight, as you approach, a certain gentle steamy haze rises from the structure, diffusing the last vestiges of twilight and softening the sharp edges of the enormous building. This wasn't just a place to get clean. It was a colossal piece of living architecture designed for relaxation, for winding down, for allowing the very temperature of your surroundings to gradually persuade your muscles to release their daily grip. Historians still argue whether the primary purpose of the Roman bathhouse truly shifted from communal hygiene to profound personal well-being as the sun dipped below the horizon. But certainly, by late afternoon, the tenor inside softened considerably. Even though bathhouses were public, common meeting points, their layout and progression of rooms were purposefully designed to guide the bather through a physical and mental transformation leading from exertion to eventual, profound stillness. Think of it less as a bustling aquatic park and more as an ancient Roman progressive spa, custom built for stress relief, a kind of gentle pressure cook. Many Romans considered the perfect way to end their day a full bathhouse routine, transitioning from heat to cool, from noise to quiet introspection. In the morning, or early afternoon, these places were teeming with chattering folk, debating politics, striking deals, exercising vigorously. But now, in the mellowing hours, you sense a distinct lull in the energy. You observe groups dispersing, the boisterous banter dimming to quieter conversations. This transition itself is key. As the more energetic elements of the day began to peter out, the spaces became less about high-octane social engagement and more about personal quietude. The very architecture seemed to sigh, welcoming you to slow down. Perhaps you pass a vendor closing up shop for the night, having sold his last ladle of hot chickpeas or a final massage oil, ready to also turn his mind towards a good night's rest. You consider your own personal flask of delicate rose oil for the anointing to come. Romans often brought their own special concoctions for a truly customized relaxation experience. It was like bringing your favorite designer towel to a modern spa. Only here, it was the key ingredient for soothing tired skin and senses. The vast scale, the faint echoes, the promise of warmth and cleansing. It's all inviting you, quietly, to simply be. The first deep breath you take as you pass through the entrance gate already feels different from the agitated ones of the street, isn't it? It's like the bathhouse air itself was engineered for calming your inner monologue. Stepping inside the imposing structure, you feel an immediate shift in the air. A warmer, more humid embrace that cocoons you from the brisk evening outside. It's a sensory welcome, almost as if the very atmosphere of the baths were wrapping itself around you, softening your shoulders. Your journey into serenity doesn't begin with a plunge into a steaming pool, oh no. Before you can truly surrender to the soothing warmth, there's a methodical series of preparatory rituals, both mundane and quietly symbolic, that must be observed. These aren't just chores, they're integral steps in leaving the outside world behind, like a slow-motion mental shedding of daily burdens. You find yourself navigating towards the first major chamber, the apoditorium, the changing room, but you're not quite there yet. First, the careful selection of your bath paraphernalia. You carry a small bag, maybe of woven reeds or soft leather, not unlike a modern gym bag, though perhaps a tad less colourful. Inside, it holds essentials for the elaborate bathing routine. Your personal flask of oleum fine, often perfumed olive oil. Not for cooking, mind you, but for anointing your body. Perhaps you chose a calming lavender blend tonight, knowing your goal is to drift off rather than rev up. You might also have a strigil, that curved bronze or iron scraping tool, which, despite its slightly intimidating appearance, was a truly indispensable piece of kit for exfoliating. Think of it as an ancient Roman loofah, but far more forceful. You know, the average Roman, even one of humble means, would own their own strigil. It wasn't something typically provided. It would be like a modern person showing up to the gym without their shoes or a towel. You just wouldn't. You also might carry a towel or two, simple linen cloths to dry yourself, and perhaps a simple tunic for wearing between rooms, or a lighter wrap for lounging later. But for now, the oil and strigil are your primary companions. As you move deeper into the complex, guided by the soft, diffused light of oil lamps that dot the enormous space, you begin to observe other bathers. They too are engaged in similar preparatory rituals. You see a stoic older gentleman carefully applying a heavy, sweet-smelling oil to his balding head, methodically massaging it in. A young couple, perhaps preparing for a quiet evening together, are comparing the merits of various exotic oils they've brought from home, probably imported from distant provinces. It's fascinating how even the simplest act, like choosing a scent, was infused with meaning and personal preference. The very air around you subtly shifts as these various aromas mingle a tapestry of rosemary, cypress, rose, and perhaps the faint musky scent of certain resins. It's like entering a very large, humid, ancient aromatherapy session, whether you intended to or not. Before the deep soak, Romans often started with something a bit more active, often just a brief workout. Not always the vigorous gladiatorial training that happens in the palaestra during the daytime, but a lighter exertion to get the blood flowing. Perhaps you toss a peeler, a soft leather ball, with an attendant for a few minutes, gently warming up your muscles without overexerting yourself. Or maybe you choose to simply stretch languidly, mimicking the movements you've seen more athletic types perform, but at your own unhurried pace. You might see a dedicated masseur already at work in an open area, expertly kneading someone's back, even before they've truly entered the bathing sequence. Historians still argue whether these initial light exercises were always a mandatory pre-bath step, or simply a common, optional pastime. Some sources suggest a full workout was expected before the cleansing, while others portray it as a matter of individual preference, especially later in the day. Either way, for you tonight, it's a gentle warm-up, a chance to shake off the lingering stiffness from a long day. You realise you're already subtly letting go of the tension. The act of choosing not to engage in vigorous activity, when the option is available, can itself be profoundly relaxing, can't it? It's the permission to be soft when the world demands you be hard. A fascinating, albeit slightly unsettling, fringe tidbit regarding ancient bathing customs is the reuse of bath water by some very economically minded Romans. While the large public baths certainly boasted elaborate systems for fresh water, some private or smaller establishments, especially during periods of water scarcity, would reportedly skim and reuse bath water. Imagine the kind of grime and skin flakes that could accumulate, especially by the end of a busy day. While certainly not the most sanitary practice, it highlights the immense value of water in Roman society. Thankfully, at the grand public baths you're visiting, the flow of fresh, mineral-rich water is a continuous, reassuring hum in the background, a testament to Roman engineering and the sheer abundance of aqueduct-fed supplies. You hear the splash of it from unseen spouts and the gentle gurgle of it flowing into and out of channels. This constant, fresh supply ensures the air remains humid, yet clean, not stagnant. As you consciously make these preparations, an interesting mental game begins. Your movements become more deliberate, slower, as if your internal clock is already beginning to wind down. You consciously separate yourself from the urgency of the world outside, even just by preparing your chosen oil. You carefully untie your warm sandals, setting them aside with a quiet sigh of relief, relishing the sensation of the cool, polished marble underfoot. The murmuring voices of other bathers, once a cacophony, now blend into a gentle, indistinguishable hum. This deliberate entry, this systematic process of stripping away not just clothes but the remnants of the day, is crucial. It's a sensory transition, a mental recalibration. No rushed movements, no frantic decisions. You're consciously disengaging, preparing yourself to be receptive to the soothing qualities of the bathhouse. It's not just about getting clean, it's about becoming clean, physically and spiritually, preparing the ground for genuine relaxation. Each step is a small release. Each preparation, a small invitation to rest. It's about being truly present, fully immersed, not just in the water, but in the unfolding process of your own unwinding. As you finally cross the threshold into the sprawling embrace of the public baths, the very air itself thickens around you. It's a humid hug, almost instantly relaxing the tiny muscles you didn't even know you were clenching in your jaw. The scent of warmed, wet stone, a hint of wood smoke, and a mingling of the various infused oils you observed earlier now forms a gentle, pervasive aroma. It's surprisingly calming. Almost soporific, isn't it? The sounds inside are amplified yet oddly softened by the echoing chambers. The the distant splash of water from unseen pools, the muted rumble of voices that seem to float and dissipate within the vastness. The occasional clink of metal against marble as someone places their strigil down. It's like entering an enormous, purpose-built acoustic chamber where all harsh edges of sound are rounded off and smoothed away, perfect for gently cushioning your anxious mind. The apoditerium, the changing room, is your first true immersion into this ancient world of unwinding. It's less of a cosy nook and more of a colossal hall, stretching far above your head. Imagine walking into a very grand, perhaps slightly chaotic art gallery that doubles as a communal wardrobe. High ceilings, soaring arches, perhaps even elaborate frescoes adorning the walls, depicting, naturally, scenes of gods or heroes looking impossibly fit and refreshed after their theoretical bath. Along the walls, a seemingly endless series of recesses or cubbies line the space. These are not private changing rooms in the modern sense, mind you. Oh no. This is Roman public life at its most exposed. Think of it as a giant, open-plan communal dressing room, but instead of lockers with combination locks, you've got shelves and perhaps a peg or two. Mainstream fact alert. These changing rooms were designed to be both highly functional and socially interactive, serving as gathering points even before the bathing began. You would choose an available spot along the wall, perhaps a recess carved directly into the stone or a wooden locker built into the niche. Your first impulse might be to search for a hidden corner, a small bastion of privacy where you can wrestle off your toga without an audience. Good luck with that. Romans were not particularly concerned with what we might consider privacy during these preparatory stages. In fact, one fringe tidbit that might raise your modern eyebrows is that valuables your coin purse, perhaps a valuable ring, or even an important document were notoriously prone to theft in the apoditerium. Many bathers hired enslaved attendants, often called capsarii, whose sole job was to guard your clothes and possessions. Imagine having to pay someone just to watch your ancient equivalent of a gym bag. This highlights a rather charming dichotomy of Roman life. Highly advanced engineering on one hand, utterly rudimentary personal security on the other. Historians still debate whether these capsarii were truly effective deterrents, or if they sometimes, turned a blind eye for a well-placed bribe, or perhaps even were in on the pilfering themselves. A little unsettling to consider as you contemplate hanging up your best tunic, isn't it? Excuse me, ancient security guard, can you please keep an eye on my really expensive loincloth? It almost makes you laugh. Almost. As you navigate this semi-organised chaos, you begin the surprisingly mindful process of disrobing. First, your sturdy calceus, your Roman boot, then the heavy wool cloak you wear against the evening chill, carefully folding it and placing it on a designated shelf. Finally, the toga. Oh, the toga. If you've ever wondered why Roman statues often depict men with such stoic expressions, it might be because they were internally screaming at the sheer fabric volume they had to contend with on a daily basis. Untangling yourself from the yards of carefully draped fabric is an exercise in patient dexterity. Each fold released feels like shedding a layer of the day's weight, physically and symbolically. You watch others around you performing the same careful unspooling, their movements becoming softer, more deliberate, as they too prepare to transition from the clamour of civic duty to the quiet introspection of the baths. Even as more people enter and occupy their changing spots, there's a diminishing hum in the apoditerium now that evening has fully descended. The raucous laughter and boisterous shouts you might hear in the middle of the day have subsided to more hushed conversations, a soft murmur like distant waves on a beach. Children, usually running rampant and causing delightful mayhem, have mostly been taken home. The space, though still public, feels more adult, more intentional. The dim light, mostly from flickering oil lamps, and the faint glow filtering from inner heated rooms, casts long, dancing shadows on the marble, adding to the almost dreamlike quality of the experience. It's like stepping into a half-forgotten dream, where everyone is moving in slow motion, draped in ancient silks, quietly preparing for something profound. And the echoes? They amplify whispers into gentle sighs, creating an auditory landscape that already begins to induce a deep, resonant calm. It makes you feel very small, very insignificant, in the most comforting way, stripped of your societal trappings, ready to simply be a body seeking warmth. It's a marvellous trick, the scale of this place. Makes all your daily worries shrink in comparison to the grandeur of it all. You almost want to whisper a joke, but then decide against it, respecting the prevailing silence. As you finally shed your outer layers, you might wrap a simpler, light linen loincloth around you, or simply go naked, as was the custom for many, though most preferred to maintain at least a semblance of modesty when moving between spaces. You might gently stretch, rolling your shoulders, feeling the pleasant, damp warmth on your bare skin. It's like being a snake, shedding an old skin and revealing a fresh, receptive one underneath, ready for whatever warmth and peace awaits. This isn't just a place to store your clothes, it's the portal through which you abandon the stresses and demands of your everyday existence, inviting the subtle currents of quietude to wash over you even before a drop of water has touched your skin. The air around you, once feeling quite distinct from your own body heat, now feels like an extension of you, a warm, soft blanket pulled snugly around your shoulders. Every subtle shift in the air, every quiet rustle of cloth, every muted voice, it's all conspiring to lower your heart rate. And you let it. You welcome it. Now, completely stripped of the layers that signify your status and profession, the carefully folded toga now just a heap of fabric in a cubby, you feel strangely exposed, yet also remarkably unburdened. The last lingering echoes of the day's concerns seem to have detached themselves, along with your outer garments, left behind in the slightly chilled apoditerium. While this changing room was massive and could host dozens, even hundreds of people during peak hours, tonight it feels considerably calmer. The air is still moist, carrying the general warmth from the inner heated rooms, but here it retains a hint of the evening's coolness. You feel a gentle chill on your exposed skin as you make your way across the smooth, often cool marble floor. It's a jolt that prepares your senses for the heat to come, like a deliberate pause before plunging into true comfort. Your bare feet pad softly, perhaps occasionally catching on a stray drop of water left by a previous bather, the sensation grounding you firmly in the present moment. Mainstream fact time. The apoditerium wasn't just a place for clothes. It was also often the first room a Roman encountered when entering a bath complex, serving as an architectural threshold between the chaotic outside world and the serene inner sanctum. It was designed to initiate a decompression, a physical separation from the world's demands, acting as a buffer zone. Imagine entering a colossal, slightly echoes hall where the light from a few carefully placed oil lamps struggles to illuminate the high, vaulted ceilings. This dimness, combined with the general quiet of the late hour, adds to the almost sacred atmosphere, emphasizing the transition you're undergoing. No bright, harsh, fluorescent lights here, just the soft, warm glow that promises rest. As you pad forward, maybe just in a thin loincloth, or perhaps completely unclothed if that was your preference, the subtle chill on your skin serves as a gentle reminder of what you're leaving behind. It's like shaking off the last cold shivers of daily anxieties before you fully immerse yourself in the rising warmth of the deeper chambers. You hear a soft murmur from other bathers, a low hum of voices, occasionally punctuated by a sigh or the quiet swish of water. But even these sounds are muffled by the grand architecture, bouncing gently off the high ceilings and thick walls before dissipating. The space is vast, perhaps designed to make you feel insignificant, but in the best possible ways more in the face of such grandeur, allowing your personal troubles to shrink proportionally. This, after all, was an engineering marvel, not just a practical building. It was meant to evoke awe. You think about how much marble, how much effort must have gone into carving just one of these changing cubbies. Frankly, given the number of times my cat sheds hair, I'm just grateful they didn't have pets roaming free here. The thought of stepping on cat fur on cold marble is almost worse than finding someone else's discarded linen. One quirky fringe tidbit about these changing rooms, which also feeds into the general atmosphere of vulnerability and the lack of private space. Sometimes the less fortunate, or perhaps desperate, would offer hair removal services in the apoditerium, using very primitive and often painful methods. Imagine someone just loudly offering to pluck your eyebrows while you're trying to figure out where to put your best brooch. Talk about an intrusive beauty regimen. While certainly not for tonight's atmosphere of relaxation, it certainly paints a vivid picture of the public nature of these spaces and the odd opportunities they created. Thankfully, as the day wanes, such impromptu, less than soothing services disappear along with the crowds. The goal tonight is to gain tranquility, not lose eyebrows in a public plucking. You become acutely aware of the shift in scent too. The initial street dust and human odours from outside are now replaced by a cleaner, humid air, tinged with a delicate, almost sweet smell, perhaps the lingering scent of previous bathers' oils, or just the warmth emanating from the internal heating system. This olfactory change acts as a gentle, non-verbal cue that you are entering a different domain, one specifically tailored for bodily and mental indulgence. Historians still argue whether the overall ambient aroma within a Roman bathhouse at dusk was consistently pleasant, or sometimes mingled with less appealing smells, given the lack of consistent ventilation systems comparable to ours. Were these spaces truly a scented haven, or just relatively better smelling than the open sewage of Rome's streets? Either way, you are focused on the subtle perfumes now, finding them to be utterly calming part of the process. You instinctively slow your breathing. Your footsteps, already bare and soft, become even quieter. You might hear the distant creak of a door, or the gentle gurgle of water moving through pipes beneath the floor evidence of the complex hydraulic systems that made these marvels possible. These faint ambient sounds become a sort of hypnotic rhythm, preparing your mind for deep rest. There's a beautiful subtlety to it all. The gradual warmth on your skin, the fading light, the hushed voices, the careful process of shedding layers. It's all a conspiracy to tell your busy mind to quiet down. Your shoulders, which you hadn't even noticed were tensed, seem to gently drop an inch or two. The stress you carried all day, like invisible weights, starts to lift, as if caught in the gentle drafts created by the rising heat from the underfloor. As you gaze around the massive apoditerium now, it doesn't feel like a cold, empty chamber anymore. The dimness has deepened, and the distant glows from the internal rooms seem to pull you further inward, promising more warmth, more comfort. You notice the soft play of light on the highly polished marble floor, reflecting the faint glimmers of the oil lamps, creating a watery, ethereal pattern that stretches before you like a liquid path into repose. It's an inviting, rather beautiful sight. You realise that this disrobing, this chill on your skin, was not just about getting ready to wash. It was about stripping away the roles and responsibilities of the day, leaving them outside. It was about becoming simply you again, raw and receptive, ready for profound tranquility. A joke might be about how they really should have installed a lost and found bin here for all the daily stresses left behind. Instead, you're leaving behind worries and taking just yourself, unencumbered. A rather clever setup for maximum relaxation, wouldn't you say? You slowly make your way to the arched doorway that beckons you to the next, warmer chamber. You glide past the apoditerium, your bare feet now carrying you towards an area that, even at this late hour, seems to hum with a faint residual energy. This is the palestra, the outdoor exercise ground. During the daylight, this grand courtyard would be a cacophony of shouts, grunts, and the rhythmic thud of wrestling bodies. Think of it as a sprawling ancient Roman CrossFit box, minus the protein shakes and branded leggings. But tonight, it's quieter, much quieter. Yet, even in its stillness, you can feel the ghost of the day's exertion clinging to the air, a faint, lingering tang of sweat and damp earth, surprisingly not unpleasant, like the comforting smell of a well-used gymnasium at rest. Mainstream fact. The palaestra was an integral part of the Roman bathing complex, almost as important as the heated rooms themselves. It was believed that a good cleansing sweat from physical exertion should precede the full bath sequence. Romans often engaged in various activities here, from wrestling and discus throwing to lighter forms of ball games. It wasn't just about fitness, it was also a social arena, where deals were struck and gossip exchanged. Even if you're not planning a full workout, you'll likely still pass through or skirt the edges, sensing its broad, open space under the deepening twilight sky. Perhaps you even catch the final, languid movements of a few die-hard enthusiasts who decided their evening wasn't complete without a final, gentle throw of a leather ball or a slow, purposeful stretch. They look more like figures in a meditation than athletes, their forms silhouetted against the indigo of the Roman sky. You can almost feel the gentle breeze that would sweep across this open courtyard, bringing with it the distant sounds of the city, now softened to an ambient hush. Imagine the dust which settled here throughout the day, being kicked up by the movement of bodies, the faint sheen of oil on skin as athletes grappled. It's a sensory experience that's often overlooked in our pristine, modern interpretations of Roman baths. Back then, it was all a little more earthy. It's hard to imagine, with all our modern hygiene sensibilities, allowing yourself to roll in the dirt then step directly into a hot tub. But that's kind of what they were doing, isn't it? It's charming, in a delightfully unsanitary sort of way. A modern personal trainer might scoff, but ancient Romans understood a different kind of synergy. Dirt and grime to activate the skin, then hot water to purify it. While you aren't here for an Olympic-level training session tonight, you might consider a short, almost meditative walk across its open expanse. The cool evening air is a welcome contrast to the rising heat from the nearby internal bath chambers. You take deep breaths, expanding your lungs, feeling the ancient air fill you. It's invigorating in a gentle way, preparing your body for the heat and subsequent cool plunge to come. It's a liminal space, really. Still partly exposed to the elements, a subtle link to the external world, yet already within the enclosed embrace of the bathhouse. Historians still argue whether the palaestra was always intended to be used before the heat room sequence, or if it was simply a recreational option that bathers could partake in at any point. Perhaps some Romans found a light stretch after the hot rooms to be more relaxing for their sleep. It certainly offers food for thought. As you gaze at the quiet exercise grounds, you might spot some equipment used during the day. A large ball, a few discarded weights made of lead or stone, perhaps some javelins neatly stacked against a wall. Even these inanimate objects hold the echo of human endeavour, of muscle and exertion, now resting for the night. You mentally compare it to a modern gym at 3 a.m, everything clean and silent, waiting for the morning rush. The only difference is, this gym was probably used by emperors and philosophers, not just your slightly too loud neighbour from spin class. You could imagine someone important, perhaps Pliny the Younger, after a day of drafting lengthy correspondence, unwinding here with a gentle toss of a ball, working up a light sweat before retreating to the warmth. It's rather endearing to think of such esteemed figures performing what essentially amounts to light calisthenics. Maybe they even wore the ancient equivalent of matching workout gear, though given their tendency for practical nudity in the baths, perhaps not. That would probably count as one of your gentle jokes for this section. A bit of Roman wardrobe fun, if you will. One quirky fringe tidbit about the palestra involves a peculiar ancient sport that could sometimes occur here, less about athletics and more about social posturing, intellectual sparring contests. While actual physical exertion was common, sometimes individuals would engage in spontaneous rhetorical duels or philosophical debates while strolling or loosely stretching. Imagine trying to explain Aristotle's metaphysics while simultaneously attempting to juggle 3 apples. Not ideal, but apparently a thing. Tonight, however, any such intellectual sparring has ceased, leaving the space open for more serene, personal contemplation. There are no loud pronouncements of epic poetry, no attempts to outsmart your fellow bathers, just the stillness and the cool night air. The subtle scent of the well-trodden earth, mixed with traces of sweat from hours ago, now feels like a soothing background aroma, not harsh or unpleasant, but earthy and honest. It adds to the pervasive sense of well-being. Your breathing becomes slower, deeper, attuned to the gentle movements of air currents in the courtyard. You might notice a few remaining lanterns, perhaps at the corners of the palestra, casting long, dancing shadows, giving the immense space an almost mystical quality. It feels both immense and intimate. At the same time, the sense of vastness making your personal self feel small and unburdened, yet also connected to something much larger and ancient. As you gently continue your path, you hear faint but distinct sounds drifting from the interior of the bathhouse. A faint splashing, a low murmur of voices, the occasional rhythmic hiss of steam. These sounds are not alarming or disruptive. Instead, they act as a gentle beckoning, a soft invitation further inward, promising warmer climes and deeper levels of relaxation. It's a sonic trail guiding you, pulling you subtly towards your destination, ultimate peace. The memory of your earlier walk through the apoditerium, the chilly shock of the air there, is now dissolving, replaced by an anticipation of comforting warmth. You might smile faintly, acknowledging the careful progression of temperatures and experiences the bath's architects had envisioned. This entire building is an ingenious machine designed to unwind you one physical step at a time, each environment preparing you for the next, like a perfectly orchestrated, incredibly slow-motion ballet for your senses. Who knew exercising, or just walking past it, could be so calming? Certainly not me, pre-coffee on a Monday morning. The thought is rather absurd, really. But here, tonight, in this quiet, grand space, it feels utterly right. You leave the palestra feeling both more centred and increasingly aware of the warmth waiting just beyond the next archway. Leaving the expansive, relatively cool palestra behind, you step through another grand archway, and instantly your entire being sighs in collective relief. This new chamber is the tepidarium, and its name tells you everything you need to know. It is tepid or lukewarm. But what a beautiful, welcoming lukewarm it is. It's not the bracing shock of a full hot room, nor the lingering chill of the changing areas. Instead, it's an enveloping, gentle warmth, like slipping into a perfectly heated bath after a long, weary day, where the temperature matches your own internal warmth, erasing any distinction. It feels as if the air itself has become a soft, damp blanket, gently settling around you. The previous crispness of the outside air, the minor discomforts of the changing room, and the echoes of physical exertion from the exercise grounds are all washed away the moment this delicate warmth touches your skin. It's the first true sense of utter relaxation you've experienced since you arrived. Mainstream historical fact: the tepidarium was ingeniously designed as an intermediate room in the Roman bath sequence. Its primary purpose was not vigorous heating or actual bathing, but rather as a calming antechamber where bathers could slowly adjust their body temperature. Imagine gradually moving from a cooler ambient temperature to increasingly warmer rooms without any sudden, jarring changes. This slow, deliberate acclimatization was key to the Roman bathing ritual, allowing the body to relax without stress, preparing it for the more intense heat of the caldarium and laconicum to follow. The air in here is warm enough to coax open your pores, encouraging a light, almost imperceptible perspiration, yet not so hot as to make you actively sweat. It's a truly perfect preheat, like preheating an oven to precisely 300 degrees to slowly bake a delicious, fluffy, ancient Roman bread. The sounds in the tepidarium are softer still than those you've heard elsewhere. The gentle splash of water is more muted, perhaps from discreet trickles through overflow channels, and the distant hum of voices becomes almost dreamlike, less a distinct conversation and more a soft, indistinct murmuring, like a far-off waterfall. You hear the occasional quiet sigh of another bather as they too sink into the room's gentle embrace. This place is bathed in a perpetually diffused light, probably filtered through high windows or cast softly from expertly placed oil lamps. There's a certain haziness to the light, too, created by the ambient humidity, making every edge appear softer, every corner inviting a contemplative gaze. You might see other bathers, simply lounging on marble benches that line the walls, draped in light cloths, or perhaps reclining on portable daybeds, utterly content in their passive warmth. No one rushes through the tepidarium. To do so would be to miss the very essence of its purpose. It's a deliberate slowdown, a warm whisper, a soft coaxing. One quirky fringe tidbit about the tepidarium is that, precisely because of its moderate and comfortable temperature, it was sometimes used by less athletic or older Romans as their primary bathing chamber, forgoing the intense heat and subsequent cold plunge. They would linger here for extended periods, conversing quietly, receiving gentle anointing, and finding their own specific form of relaxation within its agreeable atmosphere, sometimes staying for hours on end, chatting with friends, and gently stretching, perhaps even drifting in and out of a light doze. It's not hard to imagine them bringing scrolls here to read, leaning against a warm pillar, slowly losing themselves in the flow of ancient prose, while the warmth permeated their weary limbs. Historians still argue whether such extensive lounging was encouraged by the Bath architects, or simply became a common, user-driven adaptation of the space's intended purpose. It seems some patrons just liked the just right zone so much they refused to leave. Can you blame them? It's truly that pleasant, that just right feeling you rarely find elsewhere. It's like discovering the exact spot in your house that feels perfect at every time of day. You want to set up permanent residence. Maybe bring in a good book, perhaps an endless supply of lukewarm water. Though, in a room this relaxing, you probably wouldn't make it past the first paragraph before your eyelids decided they needed a long vacation. As you allow yourself to sink into one of the heated marble benches, the warmth permeating your very bones, you can almost feel the individual muscles in your body, from your shoulders down to your toes, slowly, gently unknotting. The steam isn't dense or stifling, but light, almost like breathing in liquid air, cleansing your lungs and soothing your airways. You might become aware of the subtle, faint taste of minerals in the air, a remnant of the natural springs or river water feeding these grand aqueducts. The sound of your own slow, deep breaths fills your ears, perhaps mingling with the quiet exhalations of other bathers, all immersed in the same serene moment. It's remarkable how simply existing in the right temperature can alter your entire mental landscape. The outside world, with its petty demands, seems an absurd concept, distant and irrelevant, miles away. You start to understand how Romans viewed this as a true sanctuary, not just a utilitarian facility. You could almost imagine one of those stately Roman senators, perhaps a little heavy after a sumptuous dinner, gently snoring in the corner, his tunic slightly askew. Nobody would bother him. This space encouraged quietude and a gentle acceptance of everyone's need for profound rest. The mild humour comes from imagining them trying to maintain an air of dignified political composure while on the brink of sleep, perhaps letting out a delicate, barely audible snuffle. Or the slight concern on their attendant's face, wondering, how long is polite to let someone nod off in public. This tepidarium is the perfect holding tank before deep relaxation. It promises an end to restlessness. You might shift your weight, finding the exact contour of the marble bench that offers maximum comfort, letting your neck roll slightly. The air presses in around you, gently, like a very large, incredibly comforting, invisible hand. You realise that you're no longer thinking about anything in particular. Your thoughts have smoothed out, stretched thin, like warmed wax, melting into an indistinct flow. Your attention softens and widens, encompassing the general quiet hum of the bath, the distant splashing, the feel of the heated floor beneath your feet if you dare to step off the bench, and the comforting temperature against your skin. You feel lighter, not just physically, but mentally too, as if the warmth is gently carrying away all lingering anxieties. This isn't just pleasant, it's an active disengagement. You are entering the first real phase of quiet submission. The body is preparing itself for something even deeper, drawing you inexorably further into its silent embrace. What comes next promises even more surrender, and you are ready for it. Having lingered in the soothing embrace of the tepidarium just long enough to feel the daily anxieties beginning to loosen their grip, you're now drawn forward by the promise of even deeper warmth. The air becomes noticeably thicker, heavier with steam, as you make your slow transition into the heart of the Roman bath complex, the caldarium. This is where the magic, or perhaps the intense purification, truly happens. It's a drastic, yet surprisingly pleasant change from the gentle lukewarmth you just left. Imagine stepping from a warm summer afternoon directly into a sweltering jungle, but one where the humidity is designed for pure, deep relaxation, not exertion. Your skin immediately reacts to the increased temperature, tingling with a sudden surge of heat. Beads of sweat almost instantly begin to form on your brow, a sensation that initially might feel startling, but quickly becomes part of the profound cleansing ritual. Mainstream historical fact: the caldarium was the hottest room in the Roman bath, often a vast, echoing chamber, sometimes domed, allowing steam to collect and drift. It typically contained large, often very deep, hot water pools called alveoli, where bathers could fully immerse themselves, along with heated marble benches and possibly individual hot water basins for splashing and localized washing. The air here was intentionally oppressive in its heat and humidity, designed to induce profuse sweating, thereby purging the body of impurities. The room's design often maximized surface area to radiate heat, and sunlight, if any, was carefully filtered through specialized glass or translucent stone to soften the light. Think of it as an ancient Roman detox box, a giant, sophisticated sauna and steam room all rolled into one, but on an architectural scale that dwarfs anything we'd consider building today. And frankly, with better ambient noise. No tinny gym music, just the hiss and drip of water. The atmosphere is thick with steam, so dense it often feels like breathing liquid air. This steam partially obscures your vision, transforming the cavernous room into an ethereal space where forms are softened, edges blurred. Other bathers are mere silhouettes moving through the vaporous air, or shadowy figures seated on benches along the perimeter, looking utterly, wonderfully limp with relaxation. The sounds here are different too. The rhythmic, almost hypnotic dripping of condensation from the vaulted ceilings, the deeper splash and gurgle of the heated pools, and the hushed, almost whispered conversations that carry strangely through the dense air. Your body responds immediately to this warmth, pores opening wide, sweat beginning to trickle freely down your skin. This is the great unburdening, the moment when all toxins, all tensions, feel like they are literally flowing out of you. A rather strange fringe tidbit about these incredibly hot rooms was that some Roman bathers, seeking the most intense possible sweat, would engage in peculiar pre-bath routines, such as wearing extra layers of heavy woolen cloaks before entering the caldarium, almost like mummifying themselves, just to get that maximal sweat going. I mean, good for them, but seems a little aggressive for a supposedly relaxing experience, no? Imagine trying to peel off that extra blanket in this intense heat. No thanks. I'll take the easy sweat. You might carefully lower yourself into one of the alvae, the hot immersion pools, feeling the water lap gently against your skin. The heat is profound, but it's a penetrating, bone-deep warmth, not a searing one. It's the kind of heat that after a few minutes makes you feel utterly pliant, like warm clay. You can feel your muscles relaxing almost involuntarily, loosening their nightly clench, your mind losing its sharpness as it too melts into the ambient heat. Some Romans brought small buckets of cold water with them into the caldarium to splash over their faces, occasionally a brief, refreshing jolt in the otherwise relentless warmth. You might try this. Feeling the delicate spray momentarily clear your vision and awaken your senses, before quickly succumbing once more to the pervasive heat. It's a nice little self-reboot button. Historians still argue about the precise chemical composition of the water in various Roman bath complexes, debating whether natural mineral springs or heated river water predominated, and how this affected the specific feel and perceived benefits of each bath. Tonight, it just feels deeply, wonderfully warm, perhaps slightly chlorinated with something akin to volcanic salts. Lying or sitting in the caldarium, your attention drifts. The weight of your body seems to lighten in the dense steam. Your limbs feel expansive, almost floating. You are vaguely aware of the heat seeping into your very bones, drawing out the tightness that has accumulated throughout the day. Your breath becomes shallower, then deeper, finding a slow, comforting rhythm in the hot, moist air. Your vision becomes increasingly soft, blurred by the steam, creating a world of soft shapes and diffused light that promotes pure, passive contemplation. It's like being enveloped in a giant, hot, breathing cloud, and all your earthly concerns feel impossibly far away. You might gently run your hand over the smooth, hot marble edge of the pool, feeling its surprising warmth against your skin. Perhaps a gentle chuckle escapes your lips, thinking of what a Roman fashion show might look like in here, all the men stripped down, just their carefully coiffed, or perhaps newly strigiled, bodies, glistening with sweat. No flowing togas or intricate hairstyles to impress. It's a very raw, levelling experience, isn't it? Stripped of all external trappings, everyone is just human, in this intense heat, equal in their sweat. There's a certain shared camaraderie in it, an unspoken understanding of the universal need for a deep, purifying release. As you spend more time in this intensely warm space, the boundary between your skin and the air becomes indistinguishable. You feel a gentle, almost pleasant fatigue begin to settle over you, a comfortable heaviness in your limbs. The feeling of sweat, simply pouring from your skin, becomes an oddly meditative experience, not uncomfortable, but cleansing. You might hear the distant echoes of another bather slowly climbing out of a hot pool, or perhaps just the faint, distant hiss of the furnace far beneath the floor, relentlessly fueling the heat you now luxuriate in. All sounds melt into a background hum. You close your eyes, content to simply exist within this profound heat, letting it work its silent, deeply restorative magic. It's the closest you'll come to a fully liquid embrace in a place like this. And frankly, your modern hot shower is just pitiful in comparison. Truly, profoundly restful, this caldarium prepares you not just for clean skin, but for a clean, blank slate for the mind, a mind ready for deepest slumber. From the thick, enveloping heat of the caldarium, where you experienced a full, profound sweat, you are now ready for a slight intensification, a quiet step towards the most extreme warmth available in the baths, the Laconium. This chamber was not found in every Roman bathhouse, but when present, it offered an even more profound, dry heat than the caldarium, usually without a pool, specifically designed for deep sweating and quiet contemplation. Imagine, if you will, transitioning from a regular steam room to a fiercely hot, quiet Finnish sauna, but built from ancient Roman brick and marble. The difference from the caldarium is subtle at first, then unmistakable. The air here, though intensely hot, carries less moisture. It's a dry, pervasive heat that permeates every inch of your being. Mainstream historical fact. The Laconium was characterised by very intense dry heat, often supplied by the hypercore system with additional hot air ducts and with less, if any, steam. It typically offered individual benches or alcoves, designed to encourage a solitary, introspective experience, often dimly lit. Some scholars believe its name comes from Laconia, a region in ancient Sparta, known for its emphasis on rigorous, sweat-inducing exercise without the use of water baths, focusing purely on sweat to cleanse the body. While the Romans added water to their overall sequence, the Laconium adopted the Spartan idea of extreme dry heat for detoxification. Here, the aim is absolute purity, a sweat that goes beyond simple cleansing and works on an even deeper level. You are here for complete physiological and mental surrender. As you step into the Laconium, the dryness of the air almost takes your breath away for a moment, yet it is not unpleasant. It's a clean, almost mineral-like heat, utterly devoid of the stifling stickiness you might expect. The sounds here are nearly non-existent, save for the rhythmic drumming of your own pulse in your ears, a very faint hiss from the heating system far beneath the floor, and the occasional soft, quiet exhalation from another bather. People speak very little, if at all, in the Laconium. The intensity of the heat discourages chatter, replacing it with a quiet focus on your own body and breath. It's a chamber of deep silence, a stark contrast to the often lively conversations in other areas of the bath complex. The atmosphere is one of profound, almost reverent quietude, a shared experience of intentional submission to purifying heat. It feels less like a public space and more like a collection of individual cocoons. One quirky fringe tidbit about the Laconium and its dry heat. Due to the absence of direct water and sometimes harsher temperatures, bath attendants were often stationed nearby with jugs of water for desperate bathers who felt overwhelmed, and it was said that fainting could occasionally occur. They might have used special scents or even dried herbs thrown onto small braziers to enhance the experience, a kind of ancient dry aromatherapy, but one with caution signs practically flashing "hydration recommended." Historians still debate whether these intensely hot chambers were frequented by the general public or mostly by the very health-conscious or elite seeking maximum detoxification, given the potential discomfort for the uninitiated. Perhaps only those truly committed to achieving maximum unwind sought this deeper level of sweat. But, judging by the gentle sigh that escapes you now, as you feel your scalp tingle with heat, you seem to fit that category. You're definitely a committed unwinder tonight. A faint smile might touch your lips at the thought of a stoic Roman citizen dramatically falling from his perch onto a mosaic floor, only to be quickly revived with a splash of water and perhaps a mild admonishment. Such ancient dramas unfolding in the name of relaxation. You choose a spot on a low, broad marble bench, possibly a heated stone seat. As you settle, the pervasive dry heat radiates into your very core. You feel it in your muscles, deep down into your bones. Your sweat comes faster here, not the viscous film from the steamier rooms, but fine droplets instantly evaporating from your skin's surface, leaving a pleasant, cooling sensation on your skin even as your core temperature rises. It's an unusual feeling, paradoxically refreshing even in the oppressive heat. You breathe deeply, finding that the air, though hot, is remarkably clear, almost pristine, without the cloying thickness of the caldarium. Your breathing becomes slower, more controlled, an automatic response to the physiological demands of the room. This isn't just about cleansing your body, it's about forcing your mind to surrender. There's no space for frantic thoughts when your senses are entirely focused on managing your comfort in this heat. Your attention narrows to your own physical sensations, pulling you completely into the present moment. In the Laconium, the world outside and even the more bustling parts of the bathhouse ceases to exist. Your ears pick up on the very faint creaking sounds the large building itself might make, almost like it's breathing alongside you in the vastness. This utter focus on internal sensation brings a profound stillness, a sense of deep detachment from worldly concerns. You feel an immense release, a physical and mental lightness, as if years of accumulated tension are simply sweating out of your pores, along with any lingering toxins. The faintness of the ambient light, coupled with the soft blur of the heated air, further encourages this sense of inner quietude, making your eyelids feel delightfully heavy, on the verge of fluttering shut. It's almost meditative. You might close your eyes and focus on the soft hum of the heat, feeling its powerful embrace, letting it gently stretch your perception of time, blurring moments into an amorphous state of deep, sustained warmth. The very act of enduring and then succumbing to this extreme yet gentle warmth becomes a surrender, a profound relaxation. It's an essential prelude to the deepest state of peace you are seeking. There's something undeniably funny about pursuing extreme physical discomfort just to get maximum chill. A little Roman paradox, if you will. But here, right now, in the glorious parched heat of the Laconium, it feels like the most logical path to perfect serenity. And after this profound, dehydrating cleanse, you instinctively know what must come next, a truly necessary counterpoint. Your skin is primed, your senses are attuned, and your body is ready for a radical change in temperature. The thought of that forthcoming cold shock is, surprisingly, not daunting, but deeply anticipated as an essential step toward achieving complete balance and readiness for rest. Having melted, purged, and virtually liquefied your stress away, in the intense embrace of the caldarium and Laconium, your body, though now immensely relaxed, tingles with a pervasive heat, practically radiating warmth. Your skin is flushed, pores open, and muscles slackened into a delightful pliancy. This is precisely the moment when the ancient Roman bathing sequence calls for a stark, exhilarating contrast. You step out of the dense heat, taking a deep breath of comparatively cooler air as you move into the final, often grandest, chamber of the public bath experience, the frigidarium. The shift is immediate, a shock of delightful, bracing coolness after the stifling warmth, but one that is remarkably invigorating and ultimately deeply soothing. It's the final jolt, the quiet recentering before profound rest. Mainstream historical fact. The frigidarium was the cold room, typically featuring a large, often open-air or well-ventilated plunge pool of cold, sometimes icy, water. This section of the bath served several crucial purposes: to close the pores after sweating, to stimulate circulation, and to provide an invigorating sensation after the intense heat. Architecturally, it was often the grandest hall, featuring massive open spaces, sometimes with direct sunlight filtering through skylights, contrasting with the more enclosed, hotter chambers. Imagine a huge, stately marble hall, cool and bright, with a shimmering pool inviting you to dive in. Its vastness alone speaks to its significance in the overall bathing ritual. No more muffled whispers. This room feels airy, expansive, almost breezy compared to the suffocating heat of the previous chambers. The contrast makes you feel alive. The moment you step into the frigidarium, a goosebump army races across your skin, a rapid cooling that zaps any remaining sluggishness from the intense heat. The air smells wonderfully clean and fresh, free of the pervasive humidity of the hot rooms. Your vision, previously softened by steam, sharpens, and you can see the gleaming mosaic patterns on the walls and the crystal-clear blue-green expanse of the frigid pool. This large cold water basin, often deep enough to fully immerse your body, is the central feature. Its stillness and purity seem to promise an immediate awakening. One peculiar, fringe tidbit involves what Romans sometimes added to these cold plunge pools to make them even more invigorating: Aside from merely using very cold spring water, there are accounts of snow or ice being brought in from mountains, especially for elite bathers in larger imperial complexes, turning the plunge into an almost Arctic experience for the truly brave or foolhardy. Imagine shivering your way to serenity, knowing those ice cubes travelled for miles. Historians still argue whether such practices were widespread or only anecdotal, truly reserved for the wealthiest who spared no expense in pursuit of peak wellness. Tonight, you're grateful there isn't a miniature glacier floating by your ankles. The psychological effect of the frigidarium plunge was as important as the physiological one. It was believed to tone the body and the spirit, bringing you back to equilibrium. After your deep heat, you might cautiously approach the edge of the frigid pool, feeling the chill radiating up from the water, sending delicious shivers through your hyper-aware skin. You steel yourself, then slide or jump in, the initial shock profound. Your breath catches, and your heart gives a momentary jolt. The water is utterly, deliciously cold, instantly constricting your warmed pores, making your skin feel alive, tight, and incredibly fresh. You might utter a small gasp, but quickly, surprisingly, the intense cold gives way to an exhilarating clarity. The shock passes almost as quickly as it came, leaving behind a remarkable sensation of invigoration. Your limbs feel renewed, your mind sharp, cleansed not just of grime, but of any lingering mental fogginess from the heat. You might do a quick lap, feeling the chill water envelop your entire body, or simply submerge yourself for a minute, then climb out. The air on your wet skin instantly feels incredibly pleasant, almost warm by comparison. This is the ultimate refreshing act, resetting your internal thermostat. After this jolt, the path to ultimate relaxation truly begins, preparing your mind for profound rest. The contrast makes the impending quietude all the more profound. Imagine the silent contemplation this immediate, total transformation would induce. As you emerge from the frigid pool, wiping a few cold drops from your face, your senses are completely recalibrated. Your body, tingling and revitalized, is now prepared for gentle anointing and peaceful rest. You hear your own breath, steadier now, slower, calmer. The vast hall, though perhaps still cool, seems to cradle you in a welcoming embrace. You look at other bathers emerging, perhaps rubbing their arms briskly, a soft exhalation escaping their lips. There's a shared sense of accomplishment in having completed the full temperature cycle, and oddly, despite the initial shock, there's a distinct lightness to your step, a profound clarity in your mind that you didn't have when you entered the baths. This moment of pure clarity and invigoration is crucial for preparing your mind for sleep. It helps you fully experience the subsequent softening without falling straight into unconsciousness prematurely. A little humour here. One might compare this cold plunge to a Roman coffee shot, but instead of jolting you awake with caffeine, it wakes you up with pure, undiluted cold water. Talk about a refreshing way to start a different kind of ending. The shock helps clear out every last cobweb of anxiety and exhaustion, leaving a wonderfully blank slate, utterly clean and primed for true surrender. You realise just how clever this sequence was. Melt the stress away, purify with extreme heat, then jolt awake with exhilarating cold, bringing everything back to perfect, calm balance. This sensation, this newfound inner calm, is a perfect state for true repose. Your muscles are thoroughly relaxed, your mind is cleared, and your very skin is singing. You're ready for the next, crucial stage of pure physical indulgence, the final preparation for perfect slumber. Having experienced the exquisite, exhilarating jolt of the frigidarium, your body hums with a fresh, revitalized energy. The pervasive heat has been quenched, the skin tightened, and every nerve ending feels gloriously alive and receptive. You're clean in a way that modern showers simply can't replicate it, a deep core cleansing. Your muscles are relaxed from the heat, and now invigorated by the cold. This perfect physical state is the ideal precursor for the next crucial, utterly blissful step in your journey to Roman sleep. The anointing, the scraping, and finally the languid, profoundly relaxing massage. You'll gravitate towards a dedicated area, perhaps a series of smaller alcoves, or an anointing room near the tepidarium, a quieter corner designed specifically for these personal ministrations. The soft, diffuse light here encourages relaxation, preventing any harsh glare on your now glistening skin. Mainstream historical fact. After the hot and cold plunge sequence, Romans used olive oil as their primary cleanser, moisturizer, and base for scented preparations. They would apply unperfumed oleum generously to their entire body, massaging it into the skin to dissolve dirt, sweat, and loosened dead skin cells. This olive oil was essentially their ancient organic soap. Then, the strigil would be used to scrape off the oil along with the grime, followed by fresh applications of finer, perfumed oils for lubrication and soothing. This meticulous multi-stage process ensured not only cleanliness, but also nourished the skin and began the deep tissue relaxation. It's a remarkable insight into ancient hygiene-less, about soap suds, and more about oils and meticulous scraping. Kind of puts your morning quick shower routine to shame, doesn't it? As you take your place, perhaps on a soft linen sheet spread over a warmed marble bench, you begin with the ritual anointing. You pick up your personal flask of plain olive oil. The oil is thick and rich, warming slightly from the ambient heat of the room as you pour a generous amount into your palm. You begin to rub it gently over your arms, then your legs, moving to your torso, feeling its smooth, viscous texture coating every inch of your skin. This isn't rushed. You take your time, slowly kneading it in, feeling how it almost instantly softens your newly invigorated skin. You become aware of the subtle, earthy aroma of pure olive oil, a clean scent that speaks of nature and ancient traditions. It's a deeply sensory experience, fully engaging your sense of touch and smell. Once thoroughly oiled, the intriguing act of stridulation begins. You might perform this yourself with your own strigil, a curved bronze or iron tool with a small handle, or, if you can afford it, a dedicated attendant would do it for you, their skilled hands and rhythmic movements adding to the soothing quality. This is the curious part for a modern mind. Scraping dirt off with metal, the tool is drawn gently down your skin, taking with it the oil, which has by now absorbed all the accumulated sweat, dirt, and dead skin cells. The sensation is strangely satisfying, not painful in the slightest, if done correctly, but rather a gentle exfoliation. It's like scraping away the day's stress, a physical removal of impurities, both seen and unseen. There's a soft, barely audible whoosh as the strigil passes over your skin. And here's a rather quirky, fringe tidbit about these scraped-off bodily impurities. The mixture of sweat, oil, and dirt scraped from prominent Roman bathers, known as gloios or pollen, was sometimes collected and even sold, as it was believed to have medicinal properties for aches and pains. Imagine bottling your gym sweat and selling it. Authentic gladiator gloiosa steal at 3 denarii. One almost wonders if there was a booming black market for emperors' scraped skin cells. This concept provides a gentle moment of shared amusement, a testament to how differently ancients viewed personal hygiene. After the meticulous scraping, your skin is impeccably clean, feeling impossibly smooth and refreshed. This is when the true pampering for relaxation commences. Now, your masseur yourself applies a new, often heavily perfumed, and lighter olive oil. Tonight, perhaps a calming rose or a sleep-inducing lavender. The soft, delicate scent fills the air around you, a beautiful fragrant cloud. Then comes the massage. These were not quick, perfunctory rubs. They were often extended sessions designed for deep tissue relaxation, performed by skilled unctors, masseurs, or aliptae. They employ long, sweeping strokes, gentle kneading, and rhythmic tapping designed to relax every muscle in your body, from your scalp to your toes. You feel tension draining from areas you didn't even know were tight, the subtle knots in your shoulders, the tired ache in your lower back from sitting all day, the lingering stiffness in your legs. It's all slowly, expertly kneaded away. As the masseur works, the quiet hum of the baths recedes even further, your world narrowing to the exquisite sensation of touch and the calming scent of the oils. You might hear the soft, reassuring sound of hands against skin, the faint shifting of linen. Your mind drifts, unmoored from thought. This is the peak of physical release. The careful movements encourage a complete letting go, sending you closer to a pre-sleep state. Historians still argue whether these anointing and massage rituals were always purely for health and relaxation, or if, particularly in private contexts, they sometimes extended into more sensual experiences. While in public baths like this, the focus was undoubtedly on therapeutic benefit and personal grooming, the skill and intimacy of the touch undeniably fostered a profound sense of well-being. Certainly tonight, the emphasis is entirely on comfort and deep calm. Your eyelids feel heavier, wanting to close. You could easily just fall asleep right there on the table. A perfectly oiled, gently massaged human pretzel. The pervasive scent of rose or lavender from your oil, mingling with the warmth and the almost hypnotic rhythm of the massage, becomes deeply intoxicating. It's as if the world has shrunk to the boundary of your own skin, and everything outside has faded into a pleasant, indistinct hum. You feel weightless, suspended in pure comfort. The massage eases the last traces of your physical activity and tension from the day, allowing your circulation to become wonderfully gentle and languid. There's something beautifully honest about how much physical care Romans poured into themselves before retiring. They truly believed in unwinding the body before they could truly unwind the mind. Compared to our hurried showers and brief stretch before collapsing into bed, their holistic approach makes our methods seem hilariously negligent. Just pop a pill, we say. They'd probably shake their heads. As the massage finally concludes, and the last lingering strokes gently glide away, you feel utterly, impossibly soft and pliant. Your skin, completely cleansed and deeply moisturized, feels like velvet. There's a slight lingering warmth on your body, the oil holding the heat, and a feeling of internal quietude. Your awareness of your physical self is heightened, yet paradoxically, your desire to do anything with that self has completely vanished. All that remains is an immense sense of peace, and a delightful lethargy, the perfect prelude to profound sleep. Your limbs feel heavy, but not weighed down. Instead, it's the delightful heaviness of a completely relaxed body, utterly content. You are utterly, deeply ready for the next phase. You are no longer just a bather. You are a being of pure, quiescent readiness. With your body perfectly oiled, meticulously scraped clean, and exquisitely massaged, you now feel profoundly soft, warm, and plianta living, breathing embodiment of ancient Roman comfort. The main purpose of the hot rooms and the cold plunge has been fulfilled, your physical self attended to with painstaking care. But the Roman bath complex was never merely about hygiene. It was a holistic sanctuary for the mind as well. And as evening truly settles in, painting the high ceilings with shadows, your next destination beckons with a promise of even deeper, more profound relaxation. The quiet, ancillary spaces like the libraries, lecture halls, and beautiful enclosed gardens that were an integral part of these magnificent structures. These were places for intellectual nourishment, contemplation, and pure, quiet repose, designed to lull the mind to rest, much like the gentle rhythm of your own breathing now. Mainstream historical fact, larger Roman bath complexes, especially the imperial ones, frequently incorporated libraries, bibliothecae, and philosophical lecture halls, often symmetrically placed. These spaces provided not only a place for reading and study, but also served as intellectual centres where philosophical debates or public recitations occurred during the day. As evening descended, these became peaceful retreats, offering a counterpoint to the bustling thermal areas. The gardens, haughty, within or around the bathhouses were equally important, featuring carefully cultivated plants, fountains, and sometimes walking paths, providing a serene outdoor escape and a connection to nature. It's a wonderful blend of body and mind wellness, isn't it? As if going to a gym with a built-in library, a place where you could pump iron and Plato, and perhaps the most useful benefit in the evening, they were exquisitely quiet. As you pad softly through a quieter corridor, perhaps feeling a gentle draught, you begin to catch the subtle, different sense of these auxiliary areas. From a garden, perhaps the earthy aroma of damp soil and blooming jasmine, or the faint, clean scent of cedarwood from the library's shelving. These spaces are bathed in even softer, dimmer light, relying mostly on small flickering oil lamps, creating long, dancing shadows on the marble. The quiet is absolute here, almost profound, making you consciously lower your own already quiet breath, listening to the delicate, distant trickle of a fountain or the soft rustle of leaves if a breeze picks up. There's an undeniable serenity, a sense of tranquil scholarship. One peculiar fringe tidbit that historians sometimes mention about these bathhouse libraries is the occasional accidental baptism of a precious papyrus scroll due to the high humidity, leading to fascinating challenges in ancient preservation. Imagine trying to read philosophy while a drip, drip, drip slowly damages the ancient words of wisdom you hold. Scholars still argue whether specific design features, beyond general ventilation, were employed to combat this inevitable moisture-induced deterioration. A challenge indeed for any ancient librarian. Certainly makes you appreciate your climate-controlled reading light at home, doesn't it? You might wander into one of the reading rooms, seeing other figures, mostly older or more studious types, perhaps quietly consulting a rolled papyrus or simply sitting in silent contemplation, their eyes closed. No urgent scribbling or lively discussions here. Instead, it's a shared piece. The scrolls, carefully unrolled and spread on low tables, are usually about history, philosophy, or perhaps epic poetrino, fast-paced Roman thrillers that would get the heart racing. The purpose of these evening sessions was not intellectual stimulation, but gentle immersion. You might pick up a scroll yourself, its texture dry and fibrous under your fingertips, and gently unfurl a few sentences of Livy or Virgil. The words, written in flowing Latin script, appear soft and blurry in the dim light. You might only read a sentence or two, the gentle rhythm of the language mingling with the quiet ambience, before your eyelids feel overwhelmingly heavy, your thoughts dissolving into a comfortable haziness. It's too relaxing to concentrate deeply. The very act of reading becomes part of the lulling experience, a gentle intellectual wind-down rather than an engagement. Or perhaps you opt for the calming embrace of the gardens. Imagine strolling along a perfectly manicured path, your bare feet soft on the cool flagstones. The scent of night-blooming jasmine, or fragrant herbs rosemary, thyme, perhaps rises into the cool, damp evening air. Soft light from lanterns illuminate just enough to make out the gentle swaying of cypress trees or the reflective surface of a still pond. A small fountain might be burbling softly, its sound a quiet counterpoint to the deep silence. The air is cool on your freshly oiled skin, a pleasant sensation after the warmth of the massage. Here, you are entirely disconnected from the bustling heart of Rome. Your mind quietens even further, soothed by the harmonious symmetry of the planted spaces, the murmur of water, and the natural beauty of the ancient Roman botanical selections. This deliberate engagement with quieter, intellectual or natural spaces within the baths signals a shift in the daily Roman rhythm. During the busy midday hours, these might have been places of animated debate and social calls. But, as the sun dipped, their purpose subtly shifted to fostering quietude, contemplation, and preparation for night. The physical demands of the day have now been meticulously attended to. It's the mind's turn to unwind. You might close your eyes in the garden, listening to the crickets chirping outside the bath complex walls, or the soft call of an owl. This intentional shift to quiet thought and calm environment is vital for genuinely relaxing before sleep. A modern joke might be about how this is the world's most luxurious reading. No distracting phone notifications, just the calming sound of water and the subtle scent of ancient flora. Far better than trying to scroll on a phone under glaring blue light, no? This kind of quiet concentration is something we desperately need, a deliberate unplugging. You realise the profound wisdom in the design of these structures. They provided everything: social connection, physical exercise, intense cleansing, and profound mental rest. It's a remarkable foresight into human needs that continues to resonate today. The gentle flow of thought that replaces any sharp anxieties is truly profound. You aren't processing problems or planning tomorrow's itinerary. Instead, you're merely experiencing, allowing the calm environment to wash over you, shaping your consciousness into a state of serene openness, a receptivity to the soft, creeping tendrils of sleep. This quiet communion with nature or ancient wisdom allows any lingering stresses to simply dissipate into the peaceful, ambient air. You're settling in for the night. Your attention might gently focus on a single flickering lamp in the corner of the library, or the faint scent of rain-dampened marble from the garden path. All sounds, all thoughts begin to dissolve, fading into the peaceful embrace of the vast, ancient bathhouse, which, by now, feels like your own enormous, beautifully calming sleeping chamber. You are ready for true surrender. Having softened your body with warm waters, clarified your senses with the cold plunge, and then soothed your mind in the hushed confines of the libraries and gardens, you feel a profound lightness settling over your entire being. The bath complex, which earlier felt vast and echoing, now seems to cradle you gently, its grand spaces transforming into chambers of increasing intimacy and calm. The relentless, boisterous energy of Roman daily life, so prevalent just hours ago, has largely evaporated. You notice an undeniable shift in the social dynamics of the bathhouse, a profound transition from vibrant communal activity to a quiet, almost reverent atmosphere of shared repose. This isn't the lively, bustling bathhouse depicted in many textbooks. This is its softer, evening manifestation, perfectly designed to prepare you for slumber. Mainstream historical fact. During peak hours, Roman baths were boisterous hubs of activity. Business deals were struck, political gossip was exchanged, poetry was recited, often loudly, and all manner of social interactions unfolded amidst the splashing and sweating. However, as the day wound down and evening drew in, particularly after the sunset and dinner hour approached, the composition and behaviour of the bathers would shift significantly. The merchants and senators conducting urgent business would have departed along with most of the rambunctious children. The evening patrons were often those seeking quiet contemplation, leisurely physical rejuvenation, or simply a prolonged unwinding before bed, fostering a much more tranquil environment. The change is almost palpable. It's like a bustling market at noon, compared to the quiet contemplation of a late-night art gallery. You stroll through the tepidarium again, perhaps taking a final brief dip in its lukewarm waters, but mostly observing. The numbers of bathers have visibly dwindled. The occasional soft cough, the gentle clink of an amphora, or the quiet shuffle of bare feet on marble are the dominant sounds. No more shouting, no more boisterous laughter. Instead, hushed conversations unfold between small groups of friends, their voices lowered to a respectful murmur, as if not to disturb the overarching calm. You notice some individuals have wrapped themselves in large, soft towels or cloaks, and are simply reclining on marble benches, eyes closed, perhaps even gently snoring. They appear utterly oblivious to anything beyond their immediate, profoundly peaceful sensations. A subtle aroma of cooling stones and lingering perfumed oils fills the air, comforting and soporific. It's fascinating, a quirky fringe tidbit, how this shift in the evening's energy was not only socially accepted, but perhaps even expected. Some historical sources even suggest that public criers, or possibly even the bath attendants themselves, might gently, or perhaps less gently, usher out more rowdy patrons as the evening approached, ensuring the tranquility desired by later visitors. Imagine trying to explain to an excited Roman that their vibrant, booming laughter was disruptive to the pre-sleep aura. Historians still argue about the exact measures, if any, that bath administrators took to maintain this quieter evening atmosphere. Was it a formal rule, or just a natural consequence of the type of people who would bathe later in the day, or perhaps a mix of both? Regardless, for you tonight, the palpable hush is a pure, unadulterated blessing. You are immensely grateful that no Roman teenagers are cannonballing into the plunge pool. The mere thought of it is rather amusing now, picturing a serious philosopher being splashed by a mischievous youth. Excuse me, young man, your vivaciousness is impeding my descent into nirvana. The light outside the remaining windows or skylights is now deep twilight, casting long, peaceful shadows. Inside, the oil lamps glow softly, their light muted by the pervasive humidity and diffused by the very grandeur of the rooms. There's a particular warmth that only well-used, large stone buildings can retain, a residual heat emanating from the hypercourse system far below. It's like the very stones of the bathhouse are radiating comfort into the cool evening air. You might lean against a warm column, feeling the pleasant, solid heat seep into your back. It's the kind of subtle comfort that lulls you even further into profound relaxation. As you breathe deeply, the subtle shifts in aroma and temperature act like gentle anchors, pulling you into deeper awareness of your own unwinding. You become aware of the quiet, rhythmic sound of water being replenished in a distant pool, or the occasional soft creak of timbers far above you, as the enormous structure subtly settles for the night. These sounds, far from being distracting, blend into a low, soothing ambient track for your relaxation, a gentle white noise for the ages. You observe an attendant quietly moving about, sweeping away a stray leaf that has blown in or dousing a flickering lamp. Their movements are unhurried, reflecting the prevailing stillness. Even their presence adds to the sense of calm order. There is a sense of mutual respect among the evening bathers. Everyone is here for a similar purpose: to shed the day, to relax, and to prepare for rest. You are part of a quiet, ancient commune of unwinders. You might share a gentle, knowing smile with a fellow bather who is clearly as lost in peace as you are, an unspoken acknowledgement of the collective bliss. This absence of social pressure, this unspoken agreement of quietude, elevates the bathing experience, from a chore to a ritual of deep serenity. The bathing complex becomes a temple of peace. It's funny actually to think of all that engineering, all that marble, simply to create a giant chill-out zone. But it really was that, and gloriously so. This slowing down, this softening of interactions, this universal desire for calm, it feels profoundly familiar, doesn't it? The Romans understood, implicitly, that profound relaxation wasn't just about hot water and cold plunges. It was about the cultivation of a quiet atmosphere, a nurturing environment that truly encouraged the body and mind to completely surrender. Your limbs feel heavy in the best possible way, ready for quiet stillness. As the last remnants of evening fade to deepest night outside the grand Roman baths, a different kind of life unfolds within its warming embrace. The once bustling energy has long since dissipated, replaced by an atmosphere of hushed reverence and quiet intention. The general ebb and flow of daily life outside simply melts away, replaced by the profound tranquility of evening rituals that seem almost tailor-made to induce sleep. This is not just a place for washing. It is, unequivocally, a haven for slow, gentle unwinding, where every action becomes a conscious step towards blissful repose. You've journeyed through the stages of heat, cold, oil, and mental quietude, and now your body and mind are finely tuned instruments of peace, ready for the deepest relaxation the baths can offer. Mainstream historical fact. The Romans understood the power of routine and atmosphere for promoting relaxation. In the later hours, particularly among the elite, the bath experience wasn't a quick wash, but an extended ritual spanning hours. This included prolonged stays in the tepidarium, perhaps alternating with brief periods in the caldarium, interspersed with massage, light conversations, reading, or simply meditative rest. The deliberate sequencing of warm and cool temperatures, followed by the tactile pleasure of anointing and massage, provided a complete physical and psychological reset, preparing the body for sleep by optimizing blood flow, relaxing muscles, and calming the nervous system. Think of it as a comprehensive, ancient self-care regime. No wonder they look so well rested in those marble busts, or at least the ones taken after a good long bath. As you revisit the warmer rooms, they now feel almost personal, as if the space has been quietly claimed by the last dedicated patrons of peace. You find a comfortable niche along a heated marble bench in the tepidarium, your favourite temperature zone, and simply recline. The air here is beautifully warm and still, enveloping you like a perfectly weighted blanket. Your freshly oiled skin radiates a subtle heat, and the lingering fragrance of your chosen oil, perhaps lavender, now feels deeply comforting, mingling with the clean mineral scent of the bath waters. Every muscle in your body feels pleasantly heavy, pliant, and utterly disinclined to move. Your breathing is now deep, even, almost imperceptible. One quirky, fringe tidbit about these later hours. Some Roman bathers, particularly those prone to insomnia, would sometimes intentionally combine their nightly bath with the consumption of mild herbal teas, or even fermented grape juice, a mild wine diluted with warm water, to aid their sleep, bringing their own concoctions in small amphorae. Imagine sipping a chamomile latte while floating in the warm water, listening to the gentle ambient hum. It's truly fascinating how ancient practices align so closely with modern therapeutic relaxation techniques. Historians still debate the efficacy and prevalence of such specific herbal remedies, or sleep elixirs within the bathhouse context. But the mere idea suggests a focused intent on achieving true, restful slumber through their evening bath routines. No Red Bull before this kind of unwind. The light from the few remaining oil lamps within the complex has been further dimmed, creating deep pools of shadow that absorb the remaining distractions. It's an almost perfect dimness, enough to navigate by, but not enough to read by. Your senses of sight are curtailed, forcing your other senses to the fore, especially the sensations of warmth, the calming sounds of water, and the subtle perfumes. You hear the delicate sounds of a drip, 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 from condensation collecting on the high arches and falling onto the warm marble floor. Each gentle plop is absorbed by the surrounding quietude, acting like a slow, rhythmic drumbeat for your sleepy brain. It's surprisingly meditative. You might find yourself drifting into a light doze even before truly setting off for your final rest spot, simply swaying gently in and out of consciousness on a heated bench, your head gently lolling to one side. The occasional muffled splash from a nearby smaller pool, or the quiet rustle of an attendant arranging something in the distance, barely registers. It's all part of the calming tapestry of sounds that are conducive to sleep, gently encouraging your brainwaves to slow down and deepen. There is no urgency here, no timeline, only the passage of warmth through your body, and the soothing passage of time. A faint smile might touch your lips. It's funny how this whole monumental edifice, built for grandeur and public life, could transform into the world's most serene collective bedroom by nightfall. The quiet understanding among the few remaining bathers is almost palpable. A shared, unspoken desire for total repose. No judging glances for drifting off. In fact, it was probably an unspoken expectation that you'd relax so completely that a light slumber would naturally occur. You stretch languidly, feeling your bones soft, your muscles elongated and relaxed. Your attention, no longer forced outwards, turns inwards, focused on the deep comfort radiating through you. Every inhalation feels deeply nourishing. Every exhalation a further release of all tension. The Roman baths at night are not about grand spectacle. They are about profound personal well-being, designed to prepare the citizen for nothing less than absolute rest. They offer a rare escape from the grinding pace of the ancient world. You are thoroughly softened, fully quieted. You feel that exquisite point between wakefulness and sleep, a fuzzy, warm borderland where thoughts become gentle currents and sensations merge into an indistinct, peaceful hum. This profound lull is exactly what they built it for, not just cleanliness, but ultimate tranquility. You are floating, entirely adrift in the present moment, utterly safe and supremely comfortable. You've traversed the vast architectural landscape of the Roman baths, absorbing its graduated warmth, embracing the invigoration of its cold plunge, and yielding to the exquisite comfort of the anointing and massage. Your body feels supremely relaxed, pliable, and utterly at peace. Your mind, too, has softened its edges, moving beyond the day's worries into a realm of gentle thought and tranquil sensation. Now, as the ambient sounds within the baths quiet even further, and the diffused light creates an almost dreamlike atmosphere, you witness, or perhaps participate in, the culmination of this elaborate routine, the very real tendency for patrons to quite literally relax themselves into a gentle slumber within the complex. This wasn't merely a place to get clean, it was an environment meticulously designed to facilitate drifting off, a historical blueprint for blissful communal relaxation. Mainstream historical fact. While formal sleeping quarters, akin to modern hotel rooms, weren't typically found in public baths, many Roman citizens, especially those living in cramped insulae, apartment blocks, or for whom the bathhouse provided the only access to peace and quiet, would routinely linger in the tepidarium, or other warmed, quieter lounging areas for extended periods, sometimes for hours, and would indeed fall asleep. It was considered a natural progression of profound relaxation, an unintended but frequently utilized benefit of the bath's soothing environment. Imagine being so deeply relaxed that a stone bench becomes more comfortable than your own bed. It really speaks to the efficacy of the bath's unwinding power, doesn't it? It means their bath was likely better designed for sleep than my current mattress and pillow combination. A truly comical thought, and rather impressive for ancient architecture. You observe the final few bathers scattered throughout the tepidarium, some in deep recline, covered lightly by their personal linens, others simply sitting upright, eyes closed, heads gently tipped to one side. A faint, soft murmur of distant, almost imperceptible snoring drifts from a few of the more deeply relaxed individuals. The quiet agreement among all present is profound. This is a sanctuary of rest. There's no sudden rousing, no judgmental stares. Instead, a sense of shared, collective calm pervades the space. This subtle, mutual acceptance of drowsiness makes it even easier to succumb. Your own eyelids now feel immensely heavy, as if tiny weights have been tied to your lashes, making every flicker of opening an effort. One quirky fringe tidbit involves attendants specifically hired for late-night bathers. While capsarii watched belongings, there were sometimes staff tasked with gently rousing patrons who had completely overshot napping and were verging on overnight slumber just before closing time. Imagine someone tiptoeing around in the ancient version of slippers, whispering, "Honoured citizen, the vigiles are approaching their watch. Perhaps your bed calls? Historians still debate the specific social conventions surrounding how long was too long to nap in a public bath, but the practice certainly demonstrates the potent soporific effects of the full bath routine. It makes you chuckle, doesn't it? A sleepy attendant trying to nudge awake an even sleepier Roman dignitary. "Oh, was I?" A very sleepy Roman might have mumbled, slowly coming back to himself, perfectly primed for real bed. As you lean against the comforting warmth of a pillar, your muscles now completely soft, you become acutely aware of the delicate temperature around you. It's warm enough to keep away any chill, yet not so hot as to keep you restless. It's that perfect temperature that invites a profound internal stillness. The rhythmic hiss of distant hot water pipes and the continuous, low gurgle from deep below the floor become the backdrop to your quiet, fading awareness. These subtle, consistent sounds are incredibly effective at calming the active mind, masking any sharper or jarring external noises that might disturb the encroaching peace. They create an auditory lull, a kind of primal white noise machine that gently cocoons you. Your thoughts begin to stretch and thin, losing their distinct edges, becoming amorphous. The gentle humour from early imagining Roman officials dozing office, now just a pleasant echo in your mind, soft and far away. You are fully immersed in the feeling of deep physical well-being. Each exhalation carries away another micro-stress until there is simply no tension left. You find your eyes softly closing, then opening briefly, then closing again. Longer this time. You are hovering on the brink, in that beautiful borderland between full wakefulness and profound slumber, feeling the pleasant heavy tug towards the latter. The sensations of warmth on your skin, the subtle lingering scent of olive oil, the deep softness of your limbs, the comforting sounds of the bathhouse, they all conspire to pull you under. It feels natural, utterly safe, to surrender here. The massive, robust construction of the bathhouse seems to guarantee your safety and comfort. You're entirely wrapped in an environment designed for peace, not just fleetingly, but consistently. Your body and mind, after hours of systematic relaxation, are finally allowing themselves to sink into a state of total ease. You can feel your own internal rhythm slow to a crawl, your heart rate dropping, your breath lengthening. This is not just physical comfort, it's an absolute emotional release. No worries of tomorrow, no regrets of yesterday. Only the profoundly gentle present. This deep and beautiful sense of letting go is the culmination of the ancient wisdom, perfectly designed for maximum sleep benefit. It's almost too effective. You could quite easily just disappear into a delicious nap, utterly unaware of anything external. You are now in a state of profound suspension, nestled on the cusp of true slumber within the venerable walls of the Roman bathhouse. The air, heavy with residual warmth, and the lingering comforting aroma of oils, feels like a breathable silken duvet. Your senses are completely attuned to the subtle quietude, the occasional faint whisper of air currents moving through unseen flues, the distant gurgle of the waterworks. The architectural marvel that has cradled you through this evening journey now feels less like a public space and more like a cavernous, communal sleeping chamber, radiating peace from every ancient stone. This prolonged immersion, this carefully orchestrated unwinding, is truly a testament to the bath's enduring legacy, not just as places of hygiene, but as ancient sleep sanctuaries. Mainstream historical fact. Beyond their practical uses for hygiene and social interaction, Roman baths left an indelible cultural legacy as sites for well-being. They exemplified the Roman emphasis on otium leisure, time for intellectual pursuit and personal rest as a counterpoint to negotium business. The extensive resources, engineering prowess, and architectural grandeur poured into bath complexes underscored their societal value, acting as monumental endorsements of health and relaxation. These weren't just functional buildings. They were temples to holistic well-being, places where the boundaries between physical cleansing and mental serenity completely blurred. Even today, echoes of their influence can be seen in spas, saunas, and wellness centres worldwide, carrying forward the very spirit of rejuvenation. The very purpose of modern-day retreat centres, or day spas, seems to be built on this Roman foundation of unwinding. As you lean back, or perhaps shift into a more prone position on a cushioned bench, your eyelids remain wonderfully heavy, clinging shut. You're no longer actively thinking about anything. Your thoughts have dissolved into a gentle, amorphous hum, a soft internal white noise. The light has almost completely faded from the main chambers, relying on the quiet, muted glow from a few carefully positioned oil lamps and the moonlight that might filter through high, unadorned windows, casting ghostly patterns on the water of the quiescent pools. These pools, once shimmering with light and splashing bodies, are now perfectly still, reflective surfaces that hold the deep shadows, appearing like vast, quiet eyes of the complex, observing your restful surrender. One curious, fringe tidbit about these bathhouses, sometimes only seen by night, were the small, elusive animals, like nocturnal mice, or perhaps even ancient bats, that might scurry through their vast deserted passages, adding a very quiet, almost unnoticed layer of natural sounds to the silence of the night, if you were still awake enough to hear them. It's fascinating how even the largest, grandest man-made structures would blend into the surrounding natural rhythms when humanity stepped away. Historians still argue about how late in the night bathers were truly permitted to remain without official notice, but the notion that you could virtually live, and indeed sleep, within these complexes speaks volumes of their design. Perhaps some Romans simply had their most restful sleep, while subtly warmed by the hypocaust. The deep quiet that descends over the bath complex in these very late hours is profound. You hear your own breath, now soft and deep, a soothing rhythm that matches the subtle thrumming of your own circulation. The sense of a massive, ancient, living building breathing with you is comforting and encompassing. You are safely enveloped within walls that have absorbed centuries of similar human size, of relaxation and profound rest. All traces of urgency or external expectation have been completely washed away. You might imagine, faintly, the scent of damp earth rising from the very foundations, mingled with the lasting aroma of warm olive oil, creating a rich, earthy, soporific perfume that blankets the space. It's a sensory farewell, guiding you to a deep state of repose. You feel a final, pervasive sense of surrender. The monumental bathhouse, with its intricate heating systems, grand arches, and diverse chambers, has fulfilled its promise to help you truly unwind. Your limbs feel gloriously heavy, deliciously inert, sunk into the comfort of your chosen spot. The quiet, ambient sounds, the gentle drip, the soft gurgle, the deep hush of the vast spaces continue their soft lullaby. You've journeyed through history not just with your mind, but with your very body and senses, experiencing a deep peace that transcends time. This isn't just relaxation, it's a profound reset, preparing you for an ultimate, deeply restorative sleep. The vast scale of this ancient architectural masterpiece, rather than being intimidating, is now supremely comforting. It almost hums a soft, continuous melody, a deeply grounding drone that guides your consciousness further and further down. It's beautiful, isn't it? To think that millennia ago, people sought the same escape from the clamour of their lives, and found it so perfectly realised in these ancient, monumental complexes. And in their profound ability to foster stillness and sleep, these Roman bathhouses truly stand as silent giants of rest, echoing through the ages.